unmute and do all this business. And midterms next week now. Everybody's seen their study packet. Yes, everybody's been working on it. Yes. Good. Good. Okay. So what we're going to do today is we're going to whip through this lesson fast because the test for this lesson is short, and it should be, if you've paid attention for the last unit, it should be an easy one. It's the midterm you really need to focus on, right? It's going to be a good midterm too. And you guys have a different homework assignment for next week, right? Everybody knows what that is? What are you doing next week for homework? You're bringing food to class. Remember, there's special food.
I don't know what to make salty.
Oh yeah. Be creative. Don't go over the top. Don't spend like a ton of time. Sweet, right? Just yeah. I don't remember.
I'm 100. He's healthy.
You're healthy. All right. So we're going to talk a little bit today. This is going to wrap up our whole evolution unit, and we're talking about classification, taxonomy. So now that we know there have been all these different types of organisms over time, how do we classify them? Who's coming? Sky is coming. Hello, Sky. All right. Ding dong. There she is. All righty. So if you want to let Oz out, you may. Now that I think Anthony's the only one that's not. Yeah. If Sky's here. Okay. So this dude, who's this dude? This is Carolus Linnaeus. We call him Carl. Yo, Carl. So 1730. So this is the first guy to like really make a thing out of classifying organisms. All right. And his system influenced the system we use today, but it's not identical. We've made some changes because over time, when we learned more, we learned how to better classify. So we've been talking about binomial nomenclature since like, oh my gosh, go ahead, sit down with that dog. Since the beginning of this whole school year, right? So binomial nomenclature is how we name a species, an organism, and it's in two parts, right? What are the two parts we use to name something? It's the something, like I might say you're a Canis dachshundus, although it's not right. It would be your genus and your species. That's what it is, right? So if this is a goal, the goal of systematics is to try and organize things into groups that have biological meaning. So over time, Linnaeus's classification, like we were saying, expanded to include what we considered 7 hierarchical taxa. So that's our most specific, right? Would be species. What comes after species? What's next most specific? So this is kind of backwards. What did you say last week, Darcy? You said Dopey King Philip came over for great spaghetti? No. Didn't you say that one? Somebody said, was it you?
I said something about toilets.
Oh, okay, that was a different one. Somebody said it. So
I wasn't here last week.
we usually do it back. Usually you do it backwards. You think kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, species. So this list is reversed. Just make sure you've got it. So here's your species. So what's next then? You're going the other way? Genus. Then what? Kingdom, phylum, class, order. There we go. Then then order. Class. Yeah, and then class, and then phylum and kingdom. Now this was Linnaeus, right? Linnaeus stopped here. But now that we have a better understanding of genetics and how evolution occurred genetically, and we can look at organisms better, right? Like we've got better equipment. This dude was in the 1700s. We've got good microscopes now. We can see things we couldn't see before. So all that included, we now have domains. So if you're trying to remember this list, kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, species, it used to just be King Philip came over for great spaghetti. Okay, that's what people used to say. But
I said something about cleaning toilets.
You might have. I think that was for something different. But anyway, yeah, you did say something about cleaning toilets, and it worked. It was good. No, it wasn't this one. It was for something different. But the way we do it now is people add dopey or dippy or something like that. Dopey King Philip came over for great spaghetti, and that way remember that domain is the first thing. So I got a couple videos today. Most of them are pretty short, and because we're going to get to our a review, but I wanted to show you this one because this one's fun. Are we what?
Doing Jeopardy and-
Yeah, we will.
Oh, we
Is
all.
it still animated?
I used to do Jeopardy.
At the time, a lot of scientific
He's
names were
animated.
kind of
He's
like-
not-
stressful, though.
So listen, he's got some good ones.
12 words long. In 1753, a Swedish botanist named Carl Linnaeus tried to fix this problem by developing the simpler two-word system that we still use today. Every species has both a generic name, what we call a genus name, followed by its trivial or species name. He argued that it didn't really matter what the name was, as long as every species got a unique label and everybody agreed to use it. And that's why today, the rules for naming a new species aren't very strict. If you find it, you get to name it. Pretty much anything goes, as long as you use the Latin alphabet and the name isn't too offensive. So if you ever happen to discover a new species,
Keep it
you want to
classy.
name it after your favorite sandwich or Game of Thrones character or your childhood pet, you probably can. But if you're really struggling to come up with your dream species name, here are a few ideas.
These are fun. There's some really fun ones in this list.
One way to name a species is by going with a clever translation and maybe a bit of poetic flair, like the salt-loving bacteria whose Latin name means traveler of the void. It earned that name by surviving in outer space for 2 years. In 2009, researchers sent samples of the bacteria to the International Space Station, or more specifically to the outside of the space station. All of the samples were exposed to the vacuum of space. Some of them were totally shielded from the sun's rays, some of them were only partially shielded, and some were completely exposed. The bacteria that got the full blast of the sun's radiation all died, but some of the ones that were partially shielded made it, and almost all of the bacteria that were totally protected survived. Next we have Ostidax muciflorus, aka the bone-eating snot flower, which is exactly what it sounds like. The muciflorus is a pink marine worm that somehow resembles both a frilled flower and something you'd find in a used tissue. These guys live in whale carcasses on the Atlantic Ocean floor, where the females anchor themselves within the bones of the whale's large skeletons. There they secrete a special acid that dissolves the bone so they can suck it in through their skin, since they lack both mouths and guts. And they really do make themselves at home in these bones. So they send their flower-like gill plumes out the side of the bone to collect oxygen. They also send out a long tube-like oviduct. Researchers think they use the oviduct to shoot out fertilized eggs that can then disperse through the water. If you're not into descriptive translations, you could try a solid pun, or just wordplay in general. Like how when researchers identified a new genus of small brown and yellow fungus beetles, they dubbed it jelly.
Keep it
after
down,
the
guys.
Latin gelatus, meaning congealed or jelly. This made a kind of sense since the tiny round beetles eat and therefore spend most of their time living on slime mold. The researchers then went on to
Jelly.
name 500 species: jelly bean, jelly belly, jelly donut, jelly roll, and jellyfish. Probably just because they could. On the other hand, if you've got a new species waiting for a name, you could always just name it after a celebrity. That's what German entomologist and spider expert Peter Jäger did in 2008 when he identified a new type of Malaysian spider and named it Heteropida David Bowie. Not unlike Aladdin's Sane, the spider is big, bright-haired, and fabulous. David Bowies can be 15 to 25 millimeters long, and their whole bodies are covered in yellow, orange, and red hair. They're also one of over 200 species named by Jäger, and not the first inspired by a celebrity. Many of the species Jäger works with are rare, endangered, and easily overlooked. He estimates there may only be around 500 David Bowies left on their island habitat, and he hopes that by giving them a flashy celebrity name, they might pull some headlines of their own and draw public
David
attention
Bowie.
to conservation efforts. Plus, there's that whole Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders from Mars thing, too. While some researchers may name a species after a celebrity to celebrate that person's achievements, others may just notice a particular resemblance between their species and a famous person. In 2011, when curator Brian Lesser began describing a previously unknown species of Australian horsefly from an old museum collection, he was immediately mesmerized by the fly's spectacular lower abdomen, bedazzled with dense golden hairs. What a glamorous bum, he thought. One might even call it bootylicious. So he named it Scaptia Beyonce, after Queen Bey herself. Golden booty or not, most people don't appreciate the 4,000 plus species of horseflies in this world, probably because their bites really hurt and it's really annoying when one keeps buzzing past your eyeball. But horseflies are actually quite useful citizens of Earth. Adult horseflies are important pollinators. They feed on nectar and move pollen around. Only the females bite, but most of them are anatogenous, which means they can't properly reproduce without first eating a hearty blood snack. And you can't really blame a girl for taking care of herself. I'm pretty sure Beyonce even has some songs about that. Then there's the story of paleontologist David Legg, who saw the claw-like front appendages of a 505 million-year-old lobster-like fossil and immediately thought of Edward
That sounds
Scissorhands.
like the
The new
Grinch.
genus Kootenai honored both the place where the fossil was found, Kootenai National Park in British Columbia, and referenced the animal's most distinctive feature with cella, the Latin word for claw. And the species name Depi on a Johnny Depp film's Sharp-Fingered Star. At about 4 centimeters long, Tubnitella decii was relatively small and probably used its big claws to capture or scavenge for prey along shallow sea bottoms. It's essentially the precursor to the arthropods we have today, like crabs and scorpions, as well as spiders, centipedes, and insects. Now, if celebrities aren't your thing, you could always name a newly found species after your favorite fictional character. Since sciencey people often enjoy science fiction, it probably shouldn't come as a surprise that the Harry Potter, Tolkien, and Star Wars fandoms are already well represented. For example, meet the J.K. Rowling-inspired Ambulex Dementor, cockroach wasps. These wasps have the charming habit of zombifying their prey, like hooded guards of Azkaban suck the souls right out of their victims. Native to Thailand, Dementor wasps stab roaches in the belly, injecting them with a mind-controlling venom that leaves them technically able to move, but unable to control their own bodies. That makes it easy for the wasp to haul them away and chow down, meeting a fate that only the worst
Dementor!
Yep.
In 2007, Marine biologist Morocco unearthed a fossilized skull fragment, discovering a new large
Listen, listen.
mostly of the upper skull, but it included an eye socket. They named it Sauronia because, in the words of study leader Andrea Cow, the idea of a predator that is physically known only as its fierce eye reminded me of Sauron. Aren't nerds the best? The fossil suggests the animal was a toothy, two-legged terror, probably as big as a T-Rex, and just as scary as Sauron himself, although without more fossils, it's hard to say for sure. Broad and thick with a distinct lump on its forehead, a Sauroniat skull looks a bit different than other two-legged dinosaurs from that area. Researchers think males may have used their head lumps to compete for ladies with some good old-fashioned headbutting. Now, Sauron's not the only hobbit enemy getting props. There's also the aptly named genus Smog, which contains a group of 8 medium-sized African girdled lizards. As members of the Fragility family, they're noted for their well-armed
Very cool, a whole
bodies,
genus.
scaled tails, and large spines. They are basically mini dragons. Smog species are insectivores, give birth to live young, and are bigger than most members of the taxonomic family. They live in deep and narrow rock crevices, or in one case, tight underground burrows, which makes the name even more appropriate, since Tolkien probably named his dragon Smog after the German word for squeezing through a hole. So many layers of meaning here. And finally, no list of fun names would be complete without a Star Wars reference, and my favorite has got to be Han Solo. Not the character, well, maybe the character, but the actual species. It's a type of trilobite, a very old, fossilized group of extinct marine arthropods, and its official scientific name is just straight up Han Solo. Doesn't admit that his friends dared him to name something after a Star Wars character, but he is actually very clever. For one thing, the fossil was discovered in the Hunan province of China, and the Han people are a large Chinese ethnic group. The animal also happens to be the only known member of its family, hence the solo. Trilobites were also diverse, widely distributed, and if you can find one, they're often nearly as well preserved as Harrison Ford and Carbonite. These are just a few examples of species with clever, amusing names. So if you ever have the opportunity to name a species of your own, don't be afraid to get creative. Thanks for watching this SciShow List Show brought to you by our patrons on Patreon. If you want to help support
So binomial nomenclature is awesome, basically. So we've got
The first species, if I figure out a new species, I'm gonna call it butt.
But you would.
Only if it has a big butt.
So we have here, now we have a different sort of branching system that we're using. Now we consider eukaryotes and prokaryotes. And this is where our domains come in, right? We've got different domains now. So our kingdoms, there are different ways to go about classifying. Here's different ways, okay? We have this, not a little bit, not a whole lot. You're gonna need to know your hierarchy, your taxonomic hierarchy. So here is the 5 kingdom system. This is the Linnean system. So this is what I learned. This is what your parents learned. This is what your grandparents learned. This one right here. And Monera basically included all the things that are yellow, right? So now we consider it like a domain situation where we have an archaea and a eukarya, right? But we used to say Monera and then Protista, plantae, fungi, and animalia. But we don't do it that way anymore. Now we have a whole different one. So there's a six system one, there's an 8 kingdom one that I don't think gets used very often, but there's different ways to go about it. So mainly now is we have our big domains at the top, which we've done several times. And where do I put this word best? Okay, so ancient organisms. So from a fossil record, we can look and we can tell relative dating. What's relative dating mean? What's relative mean when you're talking about comparing things?
It's like relative to the comparison.
Yeah, you have to have something to compare it to for it to be relative. Like sometimes somebody will say something like, is a $500,000 house expensive? And it's like, well, that's relative. Around here, that's probably a little over average. In the middle of Iowa, it's probably really expensive. In Los Angeles, it's probably really inexpensive. So yeah. So it depends, right? It's relative. So when you're talking about relative dating, this has to do with your rock layers. You know that your newest layers are typically going to be on top because that's how things get deposited. Your oldest layers are on the bottom, and you date fossils based on their placement within rock layers, what's above them, what's below them. That's relative dating. And you can get pretty accurate that way. Radiometric dating, however, this is when you're dealing with chemistry. And for those of you that were here last year, this is when we're talking about carbon dating, right? And this is about decay, radioactive decay. And we can date really, really accurately when it comes to radiometric dating. We get really accurate. And then we also divide geologic time into different periods. There are eons, eras, and periods. And those are just like the ways we break things down, sort of like hours, minutes, and seconds. And then of course, over time, there've been changes in the earth, building mountains and coastlines and things like that, you have to consider all of that when you're looking at where fossils came from. So this is a quick video, but this is a great one. This is going to take geologic time, put it in a 24-hour clock.
And evolution on Earth, it's an odd thing indeed. So how did we get here? And what would the Earth's 4.5 billion year timeline look like compressed into a normal day of 24 hours? The story begins early in the morning, around 4 a.m., with the rise of the first simple single-celled organism.
So this is just life, not the whole Earth,
organisms
just
are
life.
destined to spend quite some time alone. At 1 p.m., a simple cell engulfs another, creating a symbiotic relationship and the first eukaryotic cells, or cells with internal organs. At 6:30 p.m., these cells begin to form colonies, and thus the first multicellular life develops. But it isn't until 8:30 p.m. that sea plants appear, and 20 minutes later, we suddenly see animal life erupt in an explosion of inventiveness. Jellyfish, the first true vertebrate. Incredible diversification begins.
Hold on, let me let her in.
Oh, child. Oh, I wrote a paper on those
Clicks, and just before 10 p.m., plants begin to appear on land, followed by land mammals. By 1024, the Earth is covered in carboniferous forest, and the first winged insects appear. Many reptiles dominate the land with less than an hour left, but a mass extinction event allows dinosaurs to storm the sea and remain until 11:41 p.m., when they too suddenly vanish. And so begins the age of mammals. In the last few minutes, apes split from the old world monkeys, and with only 1 minute and 17 seconds left before midnight, humans emerge. All of the recorded human history fits within a few seconds, an individual life lasting barely an instant. All a culmination of 3.8 billion years of life. This ASAP science video was made.
Think about that a minute.
Audible.com.
What time did they start the clock for life?
4 a.m.
4 a.m. So the clock started at midnight. So it took 4 hours in that model day to get to life. The rest of that is just Earth preparing for life. Like that's just Earth becoming habitable, right? So
That's a really good video.
there's a lot of videos like this.
So like how much time we got?
Not a ton. We're gonna roll.
An hour.
Well, if we have time, we'll come at the end because we're rolling on.
Disappeared in like an hour.
Yeah, gone fast. So if you looked at if you have this, what? No, we're not doing swear words. So if you're watching this one here, if you did this in your binder, here's that real quick. So basically, yeah, this one was easy. You guys probably had no problem with it. No, your binder work? No, always keep your binder work so you can study. So next bit, Unit 5 test. Here are your study topics, okay? And then we're gonna roll on to study for midterms for the next, we're gonna give you about 30 minutes, which is good.
So you don't,
All right.
you don't have to.
No, we can't watch anything with swear words.
So you don't have, no.
That's okay.
Lab?
All right,
No lab?
no, we're gonna do lab, but we're gonna study first for midterms, then we're gonna do lab. And then we,
I'll just remember to leave.
that's okay, we'll do it later. So remember, this is important. When is your Unit 5 test due? Monday, not Tuesday, Monday, 8 a.m.
We have to put it on.
It's in teacheries like normal, but it's due 1 day earlier so that I can grade them, get them taken care of, and then you come in and do your midterm the next day. No, this is your Unit 5, not your midterm, okay? Your Unit 5 test is Monday, 8 a.m. not your normal Tuesday, Monday, 8 a.m. So you have one less day, but it, like I said, this one will not be too hard. You're gonna take it at home like you always do. Remember to get it done by Monday. And then you'll have, if I were you, I would go home, study for this one, knock it out, do it tonight or tomorrow. Spend the rest of the week getting ready for your midterm so that when you roll up in here next Tuesday, you have the whole semester in your head and not just this unit 5.
Funny how things just disappear when you really want them to be here. Like,
Yep.
I know the answer to this question, but I
Yep.
don't.
Yep. All right. So you're going to need to define adaptation and natural selection and explain for me analogous versus homologous structures and give me some examples. Okay. And some of this stuff will also be on the midterm. So if you're studying for this, then you're getting extra midterm study. And compare and contrast selective breeding versus natural selection. So remember, this is when humans are doing the selecting versus when nature is doing the selecting. Vestigial structures in humans. What's the most obvious one? There's a couple that are really good. What's the one people talk about the most probably? What? We don't have a cell wall. Yeah. But this, remember what a vestigial structure is? It's something that you used to use, but you don't need anymore. There you go, your appendix. That's why taking it out is no big deal. You don't lose anything at all. I lost a couple ounces when they took mine out. Woo! It's like a quick diet with a nice medicated sleep. Anybody ever been put to sleep for a surgery? It's so
I had laughing gas for one of my tablets.
it's so weird.
I always try to use laughing gas.
It is the weirdest thing. The doctor I had when I had my appendix out he was so good. He was this nice, sweet, gentle, big guy, but but he was really nice and he was doing a very good job of explaining everything to me. Like he was being very, very, and I already had like the pain meds in me and they had given me morphine, which I've never had in my life. And I don't really want again, unless I'm in super pain because it really works, but I didn't enjoy that part. But he was talking to me and I'm doing this kind of thing. I'm looking at him like this, I'm sure. And he probably sees people like this all day. And I said to him, you are really, really good at explaining everything. I just want you to know you are so thorough about informed consent. And this is what I said to the man. And I said, it's not the drugs. I mean, I mean it. And that's one of the few things I said to him that I actually remember before they took me back and knocked me out. But yeah, it's you don't need your appendix, right? Okay, sexual reproduction and genetic variation. Why is sexual reproduction so important for genetic variation? Why is it necessary? How does it happen? And you're going to need to define evolution, obviously, because that's kind of like the whole unit. Methods for determining evolutionary phylogeny. Now, remember, this is like we were talking about today, how one species speciated into a different one, right? How species evolved from other species. So what are the methods for that? So we talked a little bit about it today. Some of the methods are things like we can do, comparative anatomy, comparative embryology. And then we talked today about like fossil record, taxonomy, all that stuff. But your big one, the one that's going to be the most specific is when we get genetics involved, right? When we start working with DNA and we can look and we can see how things are related based on their DNA, then we're really, really breaking it down, which is how we got from, Linnaeus to having domains, kingdom, phylum, order, family, genus, species, right? We now know we can put domains up there. Binomial nomenclature, genus, species, right? That's easy. That's an easy one. All right, so let's look at our study. Let's do first the slideshow real quick, and then we will do Jeopardy.
Yeah.
And we'll split it into teams. All right.
I've been studying this whole thing.
Good. If you've been studying this, you're going to do fine. There are some questions on.
I have most of this memorized.
Good. Now I will tell you,
Yes.
because it's science, it's not just spit out the answer. There are some things you're going to have to think about. But if you understand all these topics, you will be able to answer the question.
Everything that will be on the test?
Yeah.
I definitely know
Mhm.
one of them. I knew one of them without the answer on the next slide. I just knew
Good.
it.
There will be things like there may be a question that says something like, you find an organism that looks like this. How do you know whether it's related to an organism that looks like this?
Got it.
And if you, yep, if you understand all these concepts, you will have it nailed. I will tell you, there will be one on there where you're gonna have to stop and think, all right, I have, Drew, that's amazing. Where you're gonna have to think, all right, I just got myself a genotype for 2 organisms here, and we're gonna, well, a male and a female of a species, and I have their genotypes, and now I'm gonna have to find out what sort of offspring they'll have, like a Punnett square, and then what do those phenotypes mean? Okay.
Oh, I'm
So-
amazing at Punnett squares. Oh,
Punnett squares are fun, right? I like
yeah.
them.
Thank God.
There you go, girl. You're gonna rock it. Your mom is always like, is she studying? I'm like, she's got it.
Wait, I think I remember the one.
Okay,
I
so
was studying
remember,
last night, and I had to take a few pictures of them.
that's
'cause, like,
good.
I also brought my laptop. with
Good,
me.
good.
Like, I wanted to study today, and I took
Good.
pictures, and I'm like, I need to study.
You're
this.
gonna do great. So you got 35 multiple choice questions. They're 2 points each. All right. You got 8 diagramming or labeling. There will be pictures. Actually, I'll give you a very quick, I'm gonna show you what I've done. I'm not gonna show you your, whoop, I'm gonna drop that, but is this one yours or the others? That's the others. So when I grade them, I have this awesome cheat sheet that I've made for myself here.
Extra
where
credit,
I have-
five.
The holes punched out. So I will lay that on top of your sheet.
I don't do it when I don't know it, but I will try.
I mean, I will lay this on top of your midterm and I will have your answers like boom, boom, boom. See? That's how I will do it. And there will be, this is what I mean by labeling. Oh, you can't really see what's on it, but whoa, there's some diagrams on there. Woo, there's some things to label, right? There's gonna be some short answers, right? There's gonna be how many? 6 short answers,
Oh, no, I did
3 short essays, and ooh, something's diagram. Oh, did you see it was real fast? Okay, okay, so that's what you're gonna need to do. All righty, so here we go.
One.
One. There you go.
I didn't even look at it.
Dude. All right,
Observation.
what do we think? Do we agree?
Why?
Lily says it's an observation.
I agree.
That's gonna be an observation, right? An inference, remember, would be if you're taking, say you know that your average mouse weighs 9 grams. What could you infer about the 7-gram mouse?
That it's
Yes, thank
I don't like
you.
that.
probably the run of the litter.
Yes, he's littler, right?
That's like Hermione, selective
Yeah.
reading.
Selection, read, yeah, look, taking advantage of naturally occurring variations in organisms that pass wanted trait. Wait, this is taking advantage of. So that's selective breeding, right? That's when you're gonna do it. You're gonna make your new breed of dogs. There you go. All right,
Okay.
who wants to do it? Okay, wait, let Darcy do it.
Your independent variable
I'm gonna cut
is
right.
something that that you've observed change, I think, or is that the other one?
Wait, I didn't call on you. Lily.
Independent variable is what you change. Dependent variable is what you observe changing. Your control variable is what you
Help her,
Same.
help her.
keep the same.
Keep the same, right? Yeah, there you go.
As long as keep the
There
same.
you go, right? Yeah, independent is what you're changing. Dependent is what you observe changing. Controlled is what you keep the same. This will be on every exam you ever get from me. Every midterm, every final, no matter earth science, chemistry, physical science, biology, it will be on every
I
one.
did this at,
Memorize
like,
it.
9 p.m. and my dad was hurrying me, so I probably remember like
Mhm.
a little bit.
So there are some of these, and I'm telling you this, I'll tell you which ones they are. This one will be on every exam you ever get. Doesn't matter which discipline of science, doesn't matter if it's final. midterm.
Scientific laws. Yeah.
Scientific theory, scientific law will be on them. Everyone. Yep. Okay. Analogous versus homologous. There's nothing really to answer here. This is just a look at and see. Somebody tell me why these are analogous and why these are homologous. That will help. Okay, Lewis.
They both. The homologous have wings and the homologous have bones, but without wings.
Close. We're getting there. We're getting there.
Wait, is there
Yes.
cartilage? Doesn't it have to be something with cartilage or?
Not necessarily.
Wait, so the homologous bones are the ones that have been like they're like the same bones, but they've been rearranged.
Structure is the same. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and what's this one, Drew? What were you gonna say?
What I was gonna say is that some of yours is a different rearranging structure, but also their primary limbs are the ones that they use as flying.
Yeah,
and the
so if
primary
you-
limbs that humans and cats use are for
If
left
you
and
remember it this way, analogous is function. Hey, man. And homologous, Ozzy, you've seen him 100 times. Analogous, function, homologous, structure. If you can do like some kind of sentence in your head that's A, F, H, S, what's a good one we could do? A, F,
ASHS.
AF, analogous, function, homologous, structure. So what's an AFHS we could do? Somebody come up with a sentence.
freaking hats. What was it? AFHS?
AFHS. What could we do?
A freaking hat sucks.
Okay, that's good because I don't like to wear them. They make my head itch. So for me, I would remember that. Whatever works. If you can remember, analogous structures are about function. The function is analogous. It's the same. But homologous structures have the same structure. And this one, and the other way to think about it, guys, analogous typically means that they're functioning in a similar environment. And homologous means they had a common ancestor. So wait a minute. What about the wing on a penguin and the wing on a butterfly? Those are analogous, right?
Those are very different.
But wait a minute. What's similar about that environment? One's in air and one's in water. What are both air and water? Who remembers that from physical science? They're both what, you know? Yes, Colson, they're both fluids. So they're functioning in fluids. So if you've got a wing on a penguin that it uses to swim versus a wing on a butterfly, those have the same, those are analogous because their function is the same. It's to move through fluid, right? Perfect. That was really good. Good. All right. This one is one you're going to have to just remember. Chemically opposite, cellular respiration and photosynthesis. So photosynthesis, you're taking in what?
Photosynthesis is
Energy,
taking
carbon
energy from the
dioxide.
sun, and cellular is when you're taking energy from food.
So water and carbon dioxide go in if you're doing photosynthesis and you take in energy from the sun. So water, carbon dioxide, and energy go in. What comes out? Oxygen and glucose. If it's cellular respiration, you're taking in oxygen and glucose, and then what comes out?
Water and carbon.
Water, carbon dioxide, and also energy. In the form of what?
Energy in the form of kinetic.
In the form of heat. Yes. Energy in photosynthesis is from the sun, and that comes in. Energy in cellular respiration is heat. That's why you're hot. That's why you're warm, because your cells are all undergoing this chemical reaction constantly.
This
Yes.
is a icebreaker that we did in gymnastics. Would you rather be hot all the time or cold all the time?
Oh, goodness.
Cold.
I take
Does
cold.
that mean you like? I mean, like the room is your inside is cold, or is that
Nope,
the
your
inside
body.
your body?
And you
Well,
just
then
never
definitely
feel
hot
anything
because
else.
having a cold body that would be a lot.
I always say cold, and here's why. Because I can put on more clothes, but I can only take off but so much and be decent.
Inside your body.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Inside your body.
Hot.
Oh,
Hot.
Darcy, where do you do gymnastics?
Jump TNT.
Where?
Jump TNT. I would.
Oh,
be there,
jump
but my
TNT.
man is coming at like near 2, so.
Oh, where's your Nana coming from?
Be around most of it.
That's what I was gonna guess. Really? Wow, she's been on a plane this whole time, huh?
Yeah, she got on at 5 a.m. our time.
Where'd she fly out of?
I think she flew from London Airport.
Okay, I've been to Heathrow.
And she's
Yep.
in on
Manchester
it.
Airport.
Manchester.
Oh, Manchester. Okay,
I haven't
excellent.
seen her in like 3 years.
Oh, this is so exciting then at 2 o'clock. Oh, how wonderful. So you're gonna leave
You haven't seen her?
4 o'clock, whatever. That's still, her grandma is coming over from the UK. All right, how about this one? What are these?
They okay, so
Oh,
that one
yes,
is a
yes, I know what this is.
and
What
that
is-
one is a-
Wait a minute, who can do the mnemonic? What's the memory device?
I don't,
Lily's got the memory
I
device.
don't know.
Do you know it? It starts with, it's another one starts with
Something chocolate
king.
milk, something like.
Yeah.
King-
Oh, is it? Drink chocolate milk.
King Henry died.
King Henry died unusually while drinking chocolate milk.
Hey, King Henry died unusually while drinking chocolate milk.
Who was that?
I think that was Claire. Mhm.
Hi, Claire.
Hi, Claire. There we go. Yep. King Henry died. So
Hello.
what is king? Hang on a second. Wait a minute.
Kilo.
Shh. I'm gonna ask Claire. Claire, what's king for?
I knew one was kilo.
What's king stand for, Claire? Give her a second so she can get it. No? Who can help her? What's king?
Kilo.
Okay, kilo. Wait till I point to you. What is, oh, there they all go. I should have made them one at a time. Centimillion. These are not, I'll tell you this right now. This one's not multiple choice. So pay attention to them. And I'll tell you the one that's tricky. The two that are tricky, deca and deci, because they're very similar. Remember deca and deci. And the other one, a lot of people want to spell this one wrong. And I won't take off if you spell it wrong, but notice there's only one L, which is really sort of counterintuitive because usually a word like that in English would have two L's. Unless you're Lily, in which case you have one. Right. All right. What's this next one? Oh, here we go. And what was our mnemonic?
I don't know.
Dopey?
Dopey King. We can just know the memorization.
Dopey
of
King
it, but we
Philip
can't memorize
came
that.
over for great spaghetti.
Dopey King Philip came over for good spaghetti.
There you go. That's it. Yep. Kingdom, phylum, class, domain. Kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, species. This is one that is not going to be on every exam I teach because it doesn't apply to other classes necessarily, other disciplines of science, but memorize it for the rest of your life. This is one that if you understand for the rest of your life, you are an educated person. You understand how the world works. All right. A relationship between organisms that strive for the same resources. Wait, Anthony, do you know? Oh, he's thinking. Darcy, do you know?
Competition.
Strive for the same resources will be competition. Okay, what's the next one going to be? A relationship in which one species benefits while the other's not affected.
I don't know how to pronounce it, but I know what it is.
What? Try.
I don't know how to pronounce it.
What's it start with?
C.
Okay. Commensalism? Is that where you're going?
Yes.
All right. A relationship in which one species benefits while the other's harmed.
Starts with a P.
Starts with a P.
Parasitism.
Yeah,
I don't know
parasitism.
how to pronounce any of them, but I know what they are.
What's one where they both benefit?
Starts with an M.
Mutualism.
Mutualism. And what's this last one? One kills and eats the other.
So my mom helped me with
Predation.
Good job.
It
Predation,
sounds like
says Claire.
prey.
Yep.
Predation.
Yep. Predation. Great. Good. Now, I will tell you, if you're having, some of these are big words. They're harder to spell. They're longer to remember. This one might just be matching.
I know. Oh, yeah.
It might just be a matching problem.
I remember studying this, but I forgot. Okay.
Here are
so
your domains.
I know what these are.
Okay.
I also don't know how to pronounce this one.
Wait a minute. Anthony's got it. What are they? Wait. Shh, 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 shh. What are they?
Fungus.
Yep. Fungi.
I forgot the name.
Oh. Animalia. Okay. Lewis. Plantae. What's this last one? Protista. She got it. Good job. Yes, you guys are killing it. You're going to do so well. I'm so proud of you. All right.
Okay.
What are we describing here? Okay, Lewis, what's the first one?
Desert.
A desert.
Grassland savanna is the next one.
Grassland savanna. Drew, do you know this one?
I know what it is. Me too.
Deciduous forest.
Deciduous forest, she said, or temperate, deciduous forest. What's this one going to be? Colder climate year round, precipitation, yeah.
Boreal forest.
Boreal forest, Claire says.
That's great.
How about
Very hot with
rainforest? And what's this one down here that has permafrost?
Arctic.
Arctic tundra.
Arctic tundra, right? Okay. Again, this one might be matching.
Oh.
Now,
I studied
this-
all this.
memorize
Weather
for the rest of your life.
changes climate conditions over time.
Rest of your life. And when we're talking conditions over time, We're talking a long time. We're not talking last year, it didn't snow. Now, here's interesting. My husband just came back from Denver. They are about to break they just broke a record and they're about to break another record. The longest period they've ever been without snowfall. It's like the 1800s. Does that mean their climate changed?
Yes.
1800s? How long ago is that?
That was 2,000 years ago.
200-ish years ago.
220
So are
years
we
ago.
gonna consider that a climate thing or no, that's more like a weather anomaly. If you see that trend continue for the next 200 years, then you're like, maybe there's climate change.
By the way, on Thursday it might snow because in the middle of the night it's gonna get so cold that it's like a 21% chance of rain. I think it's got a small percentage chance of rain.
Love to watch this. I will tell you right now, if I'm supposed to be grading your papers or something and it's snowing, I'm not gonna grade because I do this. I just stare at it. It mesmerizes
We
me.
have the biggest, slopiest backyard, and there's this huge, like, my mom keeps crashing
Right?
into the gate.
All right, let's keep going. We've got about 6 minutes. Somebody tell me this one. This is the big one. Wait. Let me call on somebody. Okay, Lewis, do you want to try?
Yes.
Okay.
I do want to try.
Why is science never settled?
I wasn't gonna
Oh.
say about that, but maybe next year for my birthday, which is in February.
Yeah,
We're gonna go to Aspen, Colorado.
awesome. All right, Darcy, do you want to try this one?
Yeah,
Okay, why is science never settled?
because there are
Let's
multiple
not-
variants, and you
Uh-huh.
don't know what problems may occur and at
Okay.
what time it may occur. So
All right,
it could be settled for like a minute or two, but then it's not settled because something else. is
all
gonna
right.
happen.
Drew, what do you want to
It
add?
doesn't allow any form of change. It won't allow any form of change.
Right, okay, so there's 3 big points.
Life
Your
is
first
just-
one is it presumes it's binary. Science isn't binary. It's not settled or unsettled. There's no line. So science is not binary. It's not yes or no. There's no line, right? It also presumes that if you don't understand one area of science well, that means you don't understand another equally as poorly, right?
Poorly.
So
Scientific law
you're
is
always,
about-
hang on a sec. There's always parts you're going to understand better than others. Great example. Think back to Linnaeus, okay? Linnaeus is like, oh, we can categorize things. We've changed that because we've learned more. But at the same time Linnaeus was alive, everybody knew if you dropped something, it's going to fall. It still happens today. If you drop something, it's going to fall. So our understanding
Might
of
not happen in
the fact that
1,000
if you
years.
drop something, it's going to fall to the ground hasn't changed, but our understanding of how to categorize things has. Lastly, natural science, which is what we're doing here, is about, here's your big one. See it in italics? If you put narrowing uncertainty on your exam, you are in the gold. That is the big one. It is about narrowing uncertainty. It's not about 100% certainty ever. All right. Now, this one's a think about one. Why are traits controlled by recessive alleles on the X chromosome more commonly expressed in males than females? Yes.
I know it.
Yeah, easy answer.
I know this.
No, but that's not view to support it versus.
Yeah, you're onto it. You're onto it. Anybody want to add to it? Drew, you want to add to it real quick?
The Y chromosome is smaller than the X chromosome, so that's gonna happen. It's gonna happen to the X chromosome.
Yep. All right. I'm just going to throw it at you. I'm watching our clock, so I'm going to throw it at you. So your recessive alleles, if you have a recessive allele on your X chromosome, chances are you may not have a matching allele on your Y. So it's always going to show there's nothing on the Y to cover it. Because remember the Y chromosome it's not like a big full chromosome. It's like, it's this little weak, sorry dudes. It's the weak chromosome. It's a little weak thing. It's the weaker one, right? And then examples, just memorize one example. The most obvious one, red, green color blindness. We did it in class. Remember, we put the numbers up there. Even Anthony was like, I don't know, do I see that number? Remember that? That's what you want to remember.
Fortunate because
Right?
Christmas colors are red and green.
This guy right here.
The second
Whoop,
one's so long.
Whoop, sorry. Yep. Practice this. Seriously, for real. Practice this one. If you need to sit there and do this 100 times, do it. Practice it, practice it, practice it. practice it. And I will actually, I'll go back and set the ones here that aren't going one by one. And I'll set them to go one by one instead of appear all at once. So that helps you practice.
I do some of them too. And I
Hang on. Yeah, this looks like a labeling one to me, doesn't it? You might just have one that looks just like this.
I got a word blank.
Yeah, they'll be like this because ribosomes are ribosomes in both, right?
Word blank.
People die.
I don't think there's a word bank for this one. I don't think there is. This one, you might want to really memorize this diagram. You're probably not going to be asked to replicate it, but you may be asked to fill in information. And it might be nice credit. Ooh, I said that really fast. Hope you were listening. All right, here's what we're going to do for Jeopardy. We're going to play Jeopardy, but we're going to play. Yeah, he was listening. So Claire, I will have Michael. Who else is on? Sky. The both of you. Okay, I will text both moms. Actually, somebody remind me to text Miss Sarah and Miss Michelle. When lab is going to be fast, and when we wrap up lab, I will let both of your moms know that we're going to do Jeopardy as a whole class. But what we're going to do is we're going to do the seniors level of Jeopardy because they have your questions plus others that y'all won't be responsible for, but yours will all get covered. Okay, because they have more information than you do. All right, so I will remind me, text both moms and I'll give you like a 5-minute heads up there. We're going to do Jeopardy and I'll bring it in here and we'll click on another Zoom and it'll be, I'm going to use your junior Zoom. Okay. All right. We're good. So let's tell Claire and Sky goodbye.
Bye.
Bye, ladies. And we will see you later.
Bye.
Okay. So if you